That's the sound of a big deal. At Wayfair, that sound happens a lot. Dream sofa for half the price? Big deal. New dining table you've been eyeing for months? Big deal. Finally picking up those last few pieces and finishing that bedroom? Now that's a really big deal. Whatever your home needs, Wayfair has the selection, the savings, and over millions of 5-star reviews to back it up. Shop Wayfair.com today before someone else snags your big deal.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Hey there, island dreamers, locals, and anyone craving a slice of paradise. Welcome back, or welcome for the first time, to the Fun in Key West podcast, where the vibe is always laid back, the stories are salty, and the drinks, well, they're definitely frozen. I'm your host, Michele O'Connor, your unofficial tour guide to the Conch Republic. Whether you're planning your first trip, your 5th trip, or you're just daydreaming about trading the cubicle for the ocean breeze, you are in the right place. Here's the deal. This podcast is your insider's guide to all things Key West. We're talking where to eat, hello, conch fritters and key lime pie. Where to drink, spoiler alert, there will be rum. Where to stay, and all the quirky, wonderful things that make Key West the one-of-a-kind paradise we all love. Plus, we'll keep you up to date on the latest happenings, festivals, events, maybe even the occasional Hemingway lookalike sighting. And just to keep things spicy, we'll be bringing on some amazing guests now and then, locals, business owners, and people who know the island like the back of their sandy hand. So grab your flip-flops, pour yourself a cold one, and let's escape to the island state of mind together, whether you're tuning in from your hammock or your commute, while wishing it was a hammock. We've got all the Key West goodness coming your way. Thanks for being here. It's going to be a lot of fun in Key West. Let's dive in. Welcome, my friend, to another episode of Historic Marker Monday. I am here to sprinkle a little sunshine and a whole lot of history into your day. Did you survive that time change? I know it came early this year, but hey, think about it. Brighter evenings mean more time to soak in the magic of Key West sunsets, right? Well, today we are diving into the fascinating story behind Key West's name. And yes, it involves bones, Spanish explorers, and a linguistic mashup that'll blow your flip-flops off. So grab your coffee, your curiosity, and maybe a $5 bag of popcorn from Joe at Mallory Square, because we're about to travel back in time and uncover the secrets of Bone Island. Let's get started.
Welcome to Fun in Key West, where every day feels like a mini fest. Grab a drink, take it slow. We'll show you where the locals go. Food, fun, and stories to tell. Hidden gems you know so well. Your Key West experts here to say it's fun in Key West every day.
Welcome to Monday. It's Historic Marker Monday, and I am so glad that you are here. Did you survive the time change? It did come early this year, and I think a lot of us are going to struggle with that time difference, but this is going to be the fun thing. It's going to be darker, longer at night, and that means that if you are in Key West and you are planning to go down and enjoy the sunset celebration, you don't have to be there so early. I think sunset's now around 7:30, so you can go out on the water, explore all around Key West, and then wrap up your evening with a sunset celebration. I am Michele with Fun in Key West, and I am so glad that you are here. We love to pop in and just say hi, but on Mondays especially, I like to pop in and talk about those historic markers that you see around Key West. And if you head over to Sunset Celebration, you're going to see several kind of scattered around Mallory Square. But you're going to see one particular, and I think it's historic marker number 51. And it talks about the name behind Key West. Have you ever wondered why Key West is called Key West? I did a lot of research, and so I've got notes. I'm going to be looking down at my notes so I don't get them all wrong. But have you ever wondered why it's called Key West and not something like Shady Key or Sunny Key or something tropical? Here's a clue. If you did not know this, one of the original names of Key West was Bone Island. And you're thinking, Michelle, how did we get from Bone Island to Key West that we see today? So there's a lot of things that intertwine in this. You have Spanish explorers that come in and drop names. You have the Taíno language from the Cuba Indians that came in. You have mysterious bones that were found on the island during different expeditions, when the Spanish were there, when John Whitehead was there. And slowly over time, this island of Key West morphed from Cayo Hueso into Key West. But let's talk about that. Let's travel back in time. This is what we do on Historic Marker Mondays. We talk about these markers and the impacts that they have on Key West history. And Mr. Coffee, as you can see, is here, and he's saying hi. If you grabbed our newsletter, you got an update. Mr. Coffee turned the big 6 that last week. So he's a little still ornery and still into things. But not only are you going to see these historic markers around Mallory Square, which is famous for the sunset celebrations. You're going to get there about an hour before sunset, and they're going to last until about an hour after sunset. You're going to have street performers. You're going to have musicians. You're going to have food vendors. You're going to have the Joe with the $5 bag of popcorn, which is one of my favorites. And you're going to have people there just exploring the sunset and the areas around and waving to all of those that are out on those sunset cruises. But let's talk about the original name, Cayo. So if you break it down, and I really wish, I don't know about you, if you're watching me live, first off, I want you to say hi. Second, did you take high school Spanish? Because I didn't. I took high school French, and I have to say, as I've gotten older, it doesn't do me any good. I should have taken Spanish. But anyway, so Spanish explorers came in and they adopted the word from the Taíno Indians of Cuba. And the word that they used was Cayo, and that means small island. And if we take that word and go through the full transition of that word, so you have the Taíno that say Cayo, you have Spanish who also say Cayo, you have English sailors who say K, and then the American colonists turn that into Key. So isn't that cool? It just kind of evolved. It's the same thing. It's a small island. The Florida Keys are one of the few places in the U.S. where a Spanish-derived geographic term became standard English. I thought that was kind of cool. So now you have hueso. So in direct translation, that just means bone. So Cayo Hueso literally meant Bone Island, and that's how Key West was originally known as, was Bone Island, which raises the obvious question. Why on earth were there bones everywhere on the island anytime somebody came? Well, this is where it gets interesting. There are several theories, and if you have any type of insight on any of these that are more accurate than the others, I would love to know. But theory number 1 is Native American conflicts occurred on the island, and some historians believe that the bones may have come from battles of these competing indigenous tribes, possibly the Clusa and other groups, and their remains were left scattered on the island. Theory number 2 is you had shipwreck victims. Obviously, this was before lighthouses, which, by the way, put an end to the wrecking, but you had lighthouses were not in existence. People stumbled upon the reefs and they had these shipwrecks, and the Florida Keys are known as the graveyard of the Atlantic, because you've got those treacherous currents, those shallow reefs, and the waters weren't charted very well. And so you had a lot of shipwreck victims, and maybe they washed ashore. Another theory is the fishing culture. Native groups heavily fished the area. Over hundreds of years, piles of fish bones accumulated, and maybe early explorers mistook them for human remains. That one, I have to say, is a little far-fetched. I'm not 100% buying that one. There is some historical evidence, though. Like I said earlier, John Whitehead, who was one of the founding fathers of Key West, modern-day Key West. And in the 1820s, settlers found large piles of bones while they were clearing land to build homes. And so that reinforced the idea of it being called Bone Island. And there's another Spanish word that we get connected a lot of times to Key West, which is oteste, which means west. Why? Because Key West is the westernmost island of the Florida Keys. And so for Spanish navigators sailing the chain, this island, Key West, became marked as the end of the line heading west. So you get references along the lines. Now comes the part where we talk about this linguistic mashup. When American settlers and map makers arrived, they struggled with the Spanish name. Imagine that, right? Two things happened. Cayo was already being interpreted because of the American settlers as key. And Hueso was often misheard or misunderstood. So instead of it translating to bone, navigational charts started replacing it with something more familiar. So eventually, Cayo Hueso became Key West. And this transformation happened through the English navigation charts, American colonists settling the island, and just probably simplification of the name. What's interesting, though, as you start to explore the history and the naming of Key West and all of the Florida Keys, you start to see a lot of the cultural influences that still exist today in Key West. You have the Taíno Indians, you have the Spanish explorers, American settlers, Cuban immigrants, the Bahamians, and of course, your shipwreck salvagers. Try saying that one 3 times fast, right? But even the name of the island reflects this blend of cultures. As you walk around and explore Key West, you're going to see all of these cultures in the architecture, in the food, in the music. It's just ingrained in the culture. And I think it fits the personality of Key West perfectly, right? It's not homogenous. There is these different pockets that you can explore in Key West, and whatever you're looking for, you're going to find that in Key West. Here's some fun facts that I found interesting. Many Spanish speakers still call Key West Cayo Hueso. Cuban ferries once traveled between Havana and Cayo Hueso. The name appears in Cuban newspapers and maps today. So technically, the island has never really stopped being Cayo Hueso. But if you are in Mallory Square enjoying a beautiful view of the water, or stepping off of a cruise ship, or wandering over to explore Sunset Celebration, you can grab a drink, check out the performers for sunset, and remember, you are standing on what the Spanish used to call Bone Island. So Key West didn't just get its name from one culture or one language. It's a blend of Taíno words, Spanish explorers, English navigators, and all of these charts and American settlers that combined all of these words and what they thought they heard and what they believed they saw. And honestly, I think that mix is what makes and draws all of us to Key West. It's like I said, it's not homogenous. There's something new and different, and you can't quite put your finger on it, but you recognize Key West whenever you see Key West. It's just something very iconic. You have the culture, the food, and just the whole atmosphere, right? So that's a little bit of a background on how Key West became to be known as Key West. And again, I tell you guys this all the time. Head over and to FunInKeyWest.com. Check out the self-guided walking tour. There you're going to see a lot of information about these markers that you see as you wander around Key West. And there is so much history attached to Key West, be it American history, European history, maritime history. I could go on. And you know that one of my favorite things is the history of Key West and the surrounding areas. But while you're over at FunInKeyWest.com, sign up for our book club. I talked about this. If you love the atmosphere and the island and the idea of Key West, you're going to love our book club. Every month, we dive into a book that has some sort of Key West or Florida Keys connection. And this month is an absolutely exciting book. It's Pitbulls in Paradise, and I am going to be interviewing Tony, the author. So check out our Facebook page for information about that interview. That's going to happen, I think, next week. And we're going to learn all about why he picked Key West, why his character is there, and some exciting things that are happening in the book. Can't give it away because you got to go sign up and grab that book. Plus, there's lots of other books we've read and so much more. A community, a private Facebook group, all of that. I am working on a map that will drop pins and show you exactly where all of these historic markers are. Because here's the thing, as I was exploring Key West and trying to take current pictures of where these markers are and what you would see and give you some context, I had a hard time finding some of these. And so I thought, you know what, to make it easier for you, I am creating a map. It's just about done. I will let you know when it's all done, and it'll be over on the area where we have the self-guided walking tour for the historic markers. And then we're going to have all kinds of exciting things that are going to be attached to that map. So stay tuned. Let me know if you are looking for some other things over there on guides or whatever. I'm getting ready to pull together some amazing stuff, and it's based on what you ask for. You reach out, you send me DMs, you send me emails, and you say, hey, Michele, I am looking for this, this, and this, and I put it together for you guys. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Historic Marker Monday. And again, this is what we do on Mondays. We explore those historic markers that are just scattered around Key West and offer such a interesting glimpse into Key West, its history, its people, the buildings, all of that. You guys have a great day. Thank you for stopping in, and we shall talk to you next time. Bye. Well, there you have it. From Cayo Hueso to Key West, we've unraveled the layers of history, culture, and a little bit of mystery that makes Key West so iconic. Whether you're wandering Mallory Square or enjoying a sunset celebration, remember, you are always standing on a piece of history. Don't forget to check out FunInKeyWest.com for more self-guided walking tours, our book club, and that soon-to-drop historic marker map to make your adventures even easier. Thank you for joining me for another Historic Marker Monday. Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep soaking in the magic of Key West.